Welcome to the show. I'm Jessica Shaw.
I'm Touré.
And this is BingeWorthy.
We tell you what to binge
and what to delete.
Today's episode is the third part of our four-part fall TV preview. This time, we're talking drama. First look, HBO's The Deuce.
NBC's The Brave.
Marvel's Inhumans.
Cheers to mutant drama.
Indeed. Thanks to our hosts, Vinyl in New York City. All right, Jess, let's talk TV.
Well, David Simon's new show, The Deuce, tackles New York City's criminal underbelly of the 1970s. The anticipated series stars James Franco and Maggie Gyllenhaal and airs Sundays at 9 on HBO.
Pure innovation. See, we can turn a dime into $1 just like that.
Hush not, child.
I want to learn how to make movies.
And don't.
If they can sell that in Europe, it's not going to be long before we can make it sell it here.
How do you know?
It's America, right?
Just move on up.
There's going to be an opportunity coming your way. A once-in-a-lifetime thing.
Move on up.
So what am I looking at? Your future.
When do we start?
Everything about this show, I'm like, I feel like I'm about to not like you, and yet I'm hooked into the show. I don't always love James Franco, and I definitely don't like that he's playing two brothers, because it's like Fargo just did that a few months ago with Ewan McGregor. But it wasn't enough to take me out of the show. I don't always love a show, and like, you see so many shows where the women characters are prostitutes, and it's like, oh, it's such an eye roll moment. It's like, can't you have like interesting women in the 1970s who aren't prostitutes? And yet Maggie Gyllenhaal is so good on this show that it never took me out of it. In some ways, I feel like this show, especially season 1, I've watched a few episodes of the first season, it feels like it's setting the table.
Sure.
And I'm gonna really like this show in season 2. I'm not like crazy about it. I can't wait to watch the next episode, but it does feel like important information to set me up for a bigger storyline, which is the storyline about porn that is clearly coming.
I mean, I enjoyed very much being in the world of old 42nd Street in Times Square when it was seedy and it was prostitutes and it was peep shows, and I mean, they did that period stuff very well. Right? The acting and the exposition is done very well. I mean, it's a David Simon show, so it's high quality.
Yes.
It's very smart. It's not always clear what's happening or where we're going or why. I mean, I have no idea. Why am I following these characters in this moment?
Yes.
Right? I mean, with The Wire, I knew right away I'm following them because we're dealing with, you know, the drug trade in Baltimore. There's an urgency right away, right? With Treme, there was an immediate urgency, right? We're in New Orleans around the time of Katrina, after Katrina. That matters. I'm like, why am I following? I mean, like, Times Square in the 70s is a thing, but I just didn't know why. Why am I following these people? What are they trying to get and do as a group and prove or disprove as a group? I didn't know. I don't understand. I struggled with, did I really like the show? Do I want to keep going? And I watched 3 episodes and I still didn't know, where am I going? Do I want to keep going on this journey or not? I mean, because it says David Simon, I will keep going. But I'm not sure if I would if it wasn't David Simon above the title.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean. He's a slow burn kind of creator. And I think what that means is that you need to give the show time to breathe. You need to give the show time to tell its story at the pace that it wants to, which is not a pace that we've grown accustomed to as contemporary TV viewers. You're like, I want to know the plot. I want to know what are you after? Tell your story. I want to know, you know, the 10 important things I need to know about your character immediately. That is not how he tells a story.
I mean, those are good things to know. I don't want to attack all the filmmakers who do that stuff and tell me why I'm following this journey, but he has earned the right to be much slower with those things. But I feel a little rudderless so far, 3 episodes in. I want to know more, and I'm going to stick with it, but I'm just not sure why I'm here, right? But good acting, good cameras, good dialogue, everything is working. It's just not adding up to anything quite yet.
Yet. And I feel like it's setting the table.
Sure.
It will add up to something. I have to say, what you mentioned, the camera work and what New York City and what 42nd Street looks like and everything, it's so well done. We just saw Vinyl recently, which was terribly done. It was just like a caricature of what New York was at the time. This feels authentic. This is like, that's what 42nd Street looked like. And there's something, the attention to detail, everything from the font, in the advertisements, to what the marquees on the
Yes.
street, it all feels so real. So you really get lost in that world.
And we're just barely old enough to remember, right? And to know. But I mean,
I read about it in my history books. I have to say, the one thing you mentioned that like there's not necessarily something like throwing you off this show or keeping you there. One thing that is definitely keeping me here on the show is Maggie Gyllenhaal.
Sure.
I think her performance and that like hooker with a heart of gold storyline, we've seen that a billion times. We know that when she went into and she signed on to do the show, she said, I'm only going to do it if I have some input. I don't want to make this a caricature. I don't want to demean this character.
Right.
It was important to her how she was portrayed. And I think she's doing such a good, I mean, she's an amazing actress, but she's doing, even for her, really great work.
No, I totally agree with that. We've seen The Hooker with a Heart of Gold a million times. She makes it more interesting, more intelligent, more smart, authentic, real, gritty, honest. It's definitely a character who I'm intrigued about, and I'm more intrigued about her and where she's going than the James Franco characters.
Right.
But,
no, I understand that. I think the scene of the show in the episodes that we've watched so far was from the very first episode, from the pilot, where she's in a hotel room with a kid and he's just hired her.
Yeah.
And she gives him this lecture about like why he's not getting a freebie. And it's so powerful.
Yeah.
And she's so good in that moment and assertive. And she just schools him and kind of schools the audience in a really great way.
Look, I'm one of these people who ranks The Wire as the best of the modern television shows and puts Treme in the top 20, maybe 10. So, I mean, I can't turn away from a David Simon show. I'm not sure if what I've seen is great or mezza, but it's David Simon, so I'm going to binge and I'm going to keep on this journey and see what happens.
Me too. I'm definitely gonna binge this show. I think it holds enough promise that even if you don't think it's great the first half of the season, I have faith that by the end of this season you will.
All right, coming up next, we're going to discuss the new network drama, The Brave.
And the latest Marvel TV series, Inhumans.
Welcome back, I'm Touré.
I'm Jessica Shaw.
And this is BingeWorthy.
We tell you what to binge.
And what to delete. Marvel's Inhumans, the latest offering from the always busy comic book giants, premieres Friday, September 19th at 8 p.m. on ABC.
Brother, sooner or later, the humans are going to find us.
Got no way to prove it, so maybe I'm lying.
Their first course of action will be to try to destroy us. Run!
I'm only human after all.
We need to go to Earth now. We need to strike first.
It would only lead to war.
And it's a total mess. Oh my God. Just because you have a superpower alone does not mean that you are compelling or interesting or dramatic or whatever. They create some dramatic situations, but this is so childish and so juvenile, and not in a good way, because I love the juvenile.
I know you do.
I mean, like, there's just I was so frustrated with this because it was just a mess of just superhero. You can do this comic book thing, multiple superheroes in one in an interesting way.
Sure.
This was not it.
This might be the worst show I've ever seen in my life. This show, first of all, this has the giant of Marvel behind this. This should be 8 billion times better than it is. The premise is funny. It's these
League of Superhumans.
superhumans. They live on the moon. They're like
In a caste society.
Yep.
Strict caste society.
Definitely. The moonscapes, there are moments that they're nice, right?
Yes,
and
sure.
when they like come down to Earth, and they clearly shot in Hawaii, and it's all very pretty. The king doesn't speak because if he
He's
opens his
mute.
mouth, like everything's gonna be destroyed, and I'm pretty sure he killed his parents that
So
way
he's
and everything.
doing like sign language all the time.
Right. His wife is Medusa, who has and listen, there's some bad wigs on TV right now. This wig is next level bad.
But come on, when they're in bed together and her hair is going all over the place, that's kind of sexy.
I like when the wig moves, and the wig can, by the way, kick ass. Like the wig
Yes.
can like take someone down and
Yes.
like all of that stuff. But when the wig is just on her head, it is so terrible. It's actually distractingly bad. I couldn't stop saying. I was like,
What about the blonde who has the black streaks through her
well,
hair?
here's where I will defend her, because her pet is Lockjaw, who is the one redeeming character on this show. Lockjaw is a massive dog who teleports.
I like Lockjaw.
Lockjaw needs a spin-off.
He's great, but he's perhaps the most powerful of them all, but he's a total slave. He has no thoughts. He's like a vehicle. He only does what she tells him to do. He doesn't have any thoughts of his own of where he wants to go.
Well, he's a dog.
Well, I know, but still he can teleport.
He can teleport, but he can't like talk to her and be like, "Hey, this is what I want to do."
Well, I
Girl with
know,
a black
but he
stripe
could
in her
just
hair.
teleport off to wherever he wants to go.
He should, like to another show.
Yeah.
He should teleport to Imaginary Mary, where like he would have a better. Yeah, I mean anything. I love Ramsay Bolton from Game of Thrones. We get to see him once again playing an evil character, but this show. It's just like I feel for him because it's like you sign on to the show and you're like, I'm gonna be on Marvel's Inhumans on a network TV. This is gonna be amazing. How bad could a Marvel show be? 2 words, Iron Fist. And you know what? The same guy who created Iron Fist, or who oversaw the TV series of Iron Fist, did this. Why are they letting him make TV shows?
It's not even bad to where, excuse me, it's not even good bad to where you can watch it and laugh at them and get drunk and point out mistakes, or like, it's just bad, which is just like you guys are boring, you're not compelling, just the little stories that are happening don't matter to me. And there was this weird moment where Medusa's hair gets cut off and it felt like a rape, and it was like way out of tone with the rest of the show. I was like, I can't with you guys. I'm super deleting this. I hated this show.
Hated it with every cell in my body. Can't wait to never watch it again. Put on your most patriotic TV viewing clothes, America, because the Brave premieres September 25th at 10 p.m. on NBC.
I need your team. Wheels up within the hour. No attack on an American will be tolerated. It is up to us to send that message.
This is the recovery of Dr. Kimberly Wells. There's no cavalry.
We are the cavalry.
Maintain visual.
They're moving her.
Dalton, now.
You're the only CEO I've ever had who doesn't see a woman first.
I'm giving you a shot because I know you can make it.
We're outmanned. We're outgunned. We didn't come this far to leave Kimberly Wells behind.
It tells the story of American undercover operatives carrying out super dangerous missions.
Oh my God.
And saying things like, unfortunately, there is evil in the world.
I underlined that same line. I'm
You
like,
did?
you've got to be kidding me. Like, you're sitting in a sniper's nest, and this is what you say. Unfortunately, there's evil in this world. Like, really?
Yeah. I mean, it's the dialogue is just, and that's like one of the finer lines of dialogue. It's also things like, let's go home, you know, or we're outmanned, we're outnumbered.
It's so jingoistic, right?
Ugh.
It's so like, America, fuck yeah. Like, here's our intelligence agents and our badass SWAT teams and our rangers who are gonna actually make that stuff happen.
Right.
And there's not really the political undercurrent that these shows have had. Like, obviously, this is the other side of the war on terror. But they don't bombard you with the political stuff the way, let's say, Homeland does. It's sort of a blank slate of like just American badasses who either with their brains or with their brawn are going to kick Middle Eastern ass every week.
And is it going to be Middle Eastern every week?
Sure,
Like, I'm not entirely sure what the plan is. I think it's going to be a different case every week. So it's just going to be like, you know, another one of those procedural shows that someone has to save someone with. Like, you could see at the end of the first episode, there is some kind of through line that they're going to try and carry through from episode to episode.
Sure.
And Anne Heche is definitely going to make a panicked phone call at some point.
And definitely 3/4 of the way through the episode, you know, the person is saved, the day is saved, the bright, happy music comes, we see the soldiers who saved her playing shirtless volleyball on the beach with the local indigenous children, right? So they're all good people. They're playing with the local children. They're playing soccer.
Sure.
They must be good people.
Yeah.
But here comes the evil villain racing in with a truck full of bombs. Of course, it's a truck full of bombs to commit suicide.
Here's the thing.
Like, let's just pile on all the cliches.
It was every cliche on top of each other. I think there is room for a show about special ops and doing cool stuff undercover. Like, that could be really interesting to watch, but there's no nuance, there's no subtlety to it. Everyone is like, it's real black or white. You're either like, yeah, our country's the best, or you're like a twirling your mustache villain. There's nothing.
Well, then you're an elitist in the bubble who needs to move to France.
Right. And there was one moment that just drove me crazy. There's this one woman in the special ops group, and she's like, and I thought this is going to be a really good scene. She thanks the head of the unit. She said, look, I just want to thank you that you never treated me differently because I'm a woman. And he is like, no, I know that you had to work 10 times harder to get here because you're a woman. I would never do that. Cut to like 2.5 minutes later, she has to take a shot and she's like, oh, I'm nervous. Am I gonna make the shot? I was like, are you kidding me? You just did this scene about how she's great.
Thank you.
Exactly. And then all of a sudden she's like, oh, I'm a girl, so I'm scared. I went through all this training and I'm a special ops rock star, but am I gonna make the shot? Are you kidding me? Ugh, could not delete this fast enough.
While the hot Latina's back in the office and Dulles yelling out 4 blocks, 3 blocks, 2 blocks. We get the nice countdown going on. Like, please, no.
Delete.
No, not working.
Coming up, we'll look at the 3rd season of the much-loved show Outlander, so stay tuned.
Welcome back, I'm Touré.
I'm Jessica Shaw.
And this is BingeWorthy.
We tell you what to binge.
And what to delete. The steamy time travel drama Outlander just returned for a 3rd season on Stars. It airs Sundays at 8.
Your wife, she was the healer you said? Claire. Her name was Claire.
20 years ago,
Goodbye, Claire.
I shut the door on the past. And it was the hardest thing I've ever done. I can't go through that again.
And I don't know what's going on. The first 20 minutes, there was no dialogue. There were lots of white men fighting. It was very period. I was totally lost. I was totally uninterested. I could not engage myself to care enough about the show to actually learn anybody's names. I hated it.
It's an epic battle that's going on, and Jamie he's
You're lost,
lying there, and he's
asleep.
just like on the battlefield, and there are like soldiers just dead all around him, and he's remembering different parts of this battle. Now, of course, last season we know that Jamie and Claire were separated. Like, she goes back. Do you even know what the show's about? So basically, Claire's this like war nurse situation,
You lost
and
me.
she goes back to the 1700s, and then she falls in love with Jamie. She has a husband in her real time, and named Frank, and then she falls in love with Jamie. She's now knocked up with Jamie's baby, but she goes back into the 1940s, and she's with Frank, and she's like, I'm
Pregnant with
Craig's,
Jamie's baby.
and he's like, that's okay, I'll raise the baby as my own,
So
but we
this
have
is-
marital problems.
So this is magical realism.
In the best possible way. I love this show. This show is this is like catnip for women. First of all, you've got Katrina
Don't
Bell.
genderize this.
I am completely genderizing
It's bad.
This show, first of all, you've got like a woman who is like, she's had the love of her life, and she has this other supportive husband, and she's trying to cook, and she's just like, I hate cooking. So like every woman is like, yes, Claire, you hate cooking because cooking demeans you. And then she's standing there next to her husband, and remember when the head of the department, because he's a professor, and the head of the department is so sexist, and he's like, you should just be happy. Like, women shouldn't be doctors or nurses. You should just be happy to be pregnant and to be a wife. And at that point, like, I could feel like all the women who were watching the show, we were all like, oh, we hate him so much. It's just everything they do is just like baiting women to watch it more, and I love it.
So you're getting manipulated and you like it.
Correct. I mean, this show is so much bigger than anything else. I mean, the following, the passionate following for the show, people who read Diana Gabaldon's books, people who didn't.
Look,
I
don't
love
wanna,
the casting.
I don't want to get between you and Comic-Con, but I just could not get into this at all. I'm sorry. Just nothing pulled me in, and maybe it's because I don't have ovaries, but I think that the show should be catnip for me too if it wants to be great, and it's just not.
I don't know if it should
so
be.
much fighting, so much battling, and I'm like, no, I don't. I'm good. No.
You sure you don't have ovaries?
Okay.
I'm not sure this is a show that you should love. You know how there are certain shows on TV that you're like, you
Right.
know what? This isn't made for me. And that's okay. There's so much TV on the air right now.
Yeah.
There are the networks, cable, premium
Netflix,
cable,
yeah.
streaming. I mean, there's so much that I don't think they're trying to make the show appeal to you.
I am super deleting this. Love to all the folks who are getting joy from this. Not me. I can't do it. I'm out.
I'm completely binging the show.
God.
I love it. The Droughtlander is over. That's it for the show. Thanks for watching.
Stay tuned for part 4 of our fall TV preview special to find out which remaining drama you have got to sit down and watch. And thanks again to Vinyl in New York City for letting us have this great location for the whole afternoon. I'm Touré. This has been BingeWorthy.
Cheers to fall drama.